Isn't it nice when things just work?
Indeed it is. But just how did things work out for the 7th generation Honda Accord in Europe and Japan? I was curious, so I sourced an example. A 2005 sedan in Arctic Blue Pearl to be exact. Let's have a look at it. This is a 2005 Honda Accord. If it looks like an Acura TSX to you North Americans, that's because it was called that where you are. In most of the world, notably in Japan and Europe, this is the Accord we got. It's the 7th generation of one of Honda's best-selling models and the first one to spawn 2 different versions for different markets. Manufacturing began in 2002, and the example we're looking at today is a 2005, a year before the facelift. The 7th generation Accord soldiered on until 2008. Like usual, we start with the exterior. This might be quite controversial, but I'm gonna say it. This is easily the best looking sedan of the 2000s. Don't at me, I said it. I will die on that hill. It has aged a lot better than a lot of cars from its time. Me and the owner of this car continue to stand by our point that the CL7 Accord still looks modern. To put the design into perspective for you, when the CL7 Accord launched in 2002, the Citroën C5 looked like a big slab of car. The Volkswagen Passat was still preparing to milk Macedonian taxi driver wallets, and the Peugeot 406 simply looked ancient in comparison. Not even the 407, which just looked gloopy next to the Accord. To touch on more about this particular example, this rather nice shade of blue is called Arctic Blue Pearl, and it's a pretty rare color, especially here in Macedonia. Interestingly, this color also made an appearance on, among other things, the Acura RSX. The default color of the RSX in Need for Speed Underground 2 is a close approximation to this blue. It's paired to a black interior with partial leather seats, though a few interior colors were available, including full tan leather with optional wood trim. On to the powertrain. This particular Accord has the base engine, a 2-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder, aka the K20. It develops 155 horsepower and 140 pound-feet of torque, routed to the front wheels via a 5-speed manual transmission. A 5-speed automatic was also offered, but only on the 190 horsepower 2.4-liter K24 engine. Europe also got a 2.2-liter diesel with 140 horsepower. 0 to 60 takes 8.5 seconds thanks in part to VTEC, and the top speed is 217 kilometers an hour. It's a great engine overall, but we'll talk more about it during the driving section. One small demerit is that there are no hydraulics. You have to use a hood prop, as you can see here. Time to climb inside the Accord. Although the CL7 was available with some nice appointments like a full navigation system and power adjustable leather seats, this one is more on the base spectrum. It does have cruise control and dual zone climate control, as well as radio controls on the steering wheel. Even then, the interior has held up very well and it's solidly built like you'd expect. This one also has 4 power windows, with the drivers being automatic, as well as power locks and power mirrors. It's time to start it up. No keyless start here, just put the key in the tumbler and turn it like you would normally.
Waiting for connection.
The Accord features hydraulic-assisted power steering. That does mean it's a little bit heavier to turn, but it also means that you get a lot more feedback while you're driving the car. The volume controls are on the left spoke and the cruise control is on the right spoke. Like I said, this Accord features the standard 5-speed manual transmission. It's pretty crisp with surprisingly short throws. It's also tuned for longer gearing thanks in part to the engine's stratospheric VTEC influenced redline. Pushing the lever all the way to the right and down puts the car in reverse. The center control stack is very simple. The AM/FM radio screen here also shows climate control data, which I find very interesting. A sign of things to come, perhaps? Anyway, it's very self-explanatory with a few shortcut buttons for the presets, the different modes, and so on. There's also a CD player, and the stock sound system actually sounds decent. Below that are the climate controls, which are very simple and easy to operate. This car had some issues with its AC, not unlike the Korrmobile, but they have been sorted out. The interior storage in the Accord is also pretty decent. There's a little secret compartment below the headlight adjustment dial, the pockets in the door are fairly sized, and so is the glove box, and so is the central armrest. Let's check out the rear seats. The rear door opening is kinda narrow. I think this is why the doors on most modern Hondas open so wide. They got offended. Sadly, this car is a little too old to have Honda's magic seats, where the seemingly pointless seat squabs fold upwards and out of the way. The space in the back is fine for a sedan, but it will be quite a squeeze for 3 people at once. I am 5'11", and with the driver's seat in about my driving position or so, I have an okay amount of room. There aren't that many amenities in the back aside from the fold-down armrest, which houses 2 cup holders, as you can see. Finally, let's hop into the trunk. The Accord boasts 459 liters or 16.21 cubic feet of space. While not the best in class, it's still a decent amount. You can use those yellow loops to fold down the rear seats, but the shape of the sheet metal inside the trunk can make it a bit of a squeeze to push items to the passenger compartment. Still, it's a well-sized trunk and it can hold a good amount of stuff. So what's the Accord like behind the wheel? The answer is very good, actually. The Accord is famous for being way more fun to drive than any customer truly needed. It's fun to rev out the engine, the transmission shifts well, and the steering is pretty direct and provides good feedback. Unfortunately, as the owner reports, the clutch does have a slipping issue. If you don't treat the clutch with respect, it will get upset at you, just like Judy. The sound insulation is pretty good for the early 2000s, though the tires do make some noise. Good luck for parking though, as the Accord is a pretty long vehicle, and this one doesn't have rear parking sensors. There's also no stability control, so it's best to play it extra safe in snowy or slippery conditions. All in all, the Accord is good behind the wheel, and it's easy to see why it impressed everyone when it first debuted. One other thing to mention is that the instruments are very clear and the overall driving position is pretty sporty, though it can be difficult to see over the hood and where the front of the car is. So that's the 2005 Honda Accord. All in all, this is a criminally underrated 2000 sedan that taught the Europeans a few important lessons. It also happens to be one of my favorite sedans from the 2000s, thanks to its great powertrain, great drive, good amenities, and the fantastic styling. These are very cheap in both Europe and North America, so if you want a cool used sedan that's great to drive, reliable and practical, and also tunable if you're into that, this is a no-brainer. Relative to its time period, the Accord gets a rating of 8 out of 10. Thank you guys so much for watching this full review on the 2005 Honda Accord. If you liked it, be sure to hit like and subscribe to the channel. Also follow me on Twitter and Instagram, there will be links in the description, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.